Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Picture Perfect. I'm your host, Bobby Gross, and again, weekly tradition. This is a big show. It just so happened that I don't have not just one person as my guest. We have two. We have Amber Coates and Maxwell Haddad. What is up, guys? How are you guys doing?
Hello.
We're fabulous. Hanging
out in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Love the mood lighting right now too, and it actually matches the background on the video, which is nice too. It's like we planned this out.
The sign.
I even got the sign that says Jungle Cruise. I know what I'm doing.
You are a professional producer,
I
which
am.
makes sense.
And I spend a lot of time streaming over the last year and a half and investing way too much money in stuff to make my streaming look a little bit better. So here we are.
Well, it looks great.
Oh, thanks.
Everything looks great. You guys look great. I look okay. It is what it is.
No.
You're doing
You look wonderful.
For people that don't know, we're recording this at 1:24 in the morning. Because we're busy people. We have lives, we have things to do, people to see. And so I'm dragging ass a little bit right now. But Max and Amber come on the stream and they just like gave me a shot of energy. So I'm doing my best.
That's what we're good for.
It's because we're typically awake now anyway.
This is
true.
1:24 in the morning for me is like lunch.
Or
it's normally when we do our best eating too.
Yeah.
High five.
Yep.
gotta love the binge eating. I do the same thing.
Yeah,
1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. You have nothing better to do. You just eat.
Air pop popcorn is the best 2 a.m. snack.
I agree. Little
But,
on there.
Amber, you're coming over from the Let's Get Ready network. Tell everybody about that. What are you guys up to over there these days?
The question is, what aren't we up to?
Yeah.
So legitimately, right now we have 2 Schmodown shows. We actually just brought in a few new team members and absorbed a podcast called Any Given Schmo Day. So we have the Schmodown Crackdown, which is our Friday show, which goes deep dive into the week's Schmodown matches. We have the Any Given Schmo Day, and they just do another light deep dive. Yeah, is that a thing? Yeah, those are things. I guess
it is now.
Yeah, I make up what I want, so that's how we go. And then I'm the host of the Gold Standard, which is our First Class League show. Nobody in this room is part of the First Class League. Oh, sorry. Hey, what's up? He actually hosted my show because I was on a plane tonight. So
Wasn't that nice?
Yes,
yeah,
toast the Gold Standard earlier tonight.
And then we have the Holocron, which is Justin and Medore's Star Wars baby. We have LGR reviews, which we do mostly. We touch on a lot of the Marvel shows. So we do the long form reviews of those. We also do quicker reviews of movies. I just did a Black Widow review with Justin, and the thumbnail is absolutely perfect.
And we did Loki reviews.
We did Loki reviews. We did WandaVision reviews. We did WandaVision reviews every week for 9 weeks.
I love it.
That was actually how I got started on the network. We started in January, and let me tell you, you really get used to being a podcaster when you're doing episodes of things every day. It was during I want to say pre-draft week, and all the TV shows started, and I was like, I don't know what being off camera is like. It's cool. But yeah. So, and then we're doing a lot of Twitch stuff. They do games on Twitch. Danny plays Doom.
Nice.
Everybody gets to listen to Danny be angry in Brazilian Portuguese.
So basically what you're saying is you're covering all the bases, and people that aren't watching all of the content that you're putting out are idiots. That's essentially what you're saying.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, I think we also have a sports show. We have lot of stuff going on. Right now we have 4 main hosts and 2 co-hosts, and we divvy up a lot of work. It's like, all right, cool. So we need more people, and we're trying to write articles. We're doing all kinds of stuff. It's just
doing big things over there. I love it.
I don't know.
Well, we'll put the links to all that stuff in the description if you guys want to go check that out. And you mentioned it briefly before, Amber. You kind of teased it. Maxwell, you're in the First Class League movie trivia Schmodown. How has that experience been? Because, I mean, it's just so daunting. You're not necessarily on the main shows, but still, you're still competing, and just honestly, I've been super impressed with your matches too. So like, tell me
Thanks.
like how has that been?
I love it. I mean, just to be a small part of the Schmodown is a dream come true. I've loved being a part of the First Class League. It's really exciting to be a part of something on the ground floor and help build it
Yeah.
out. I've had 2 matches so far. One lost the other, but I think it was an honorable loss. I came really close. I made my opponent sweat more than anyone else had. May or may not have another match coming up in the near future.
You did draw the only blood that anybody had drawn
That's
on
true.
this season.
I love it. It's a learning experience. I'm certainly not camera shy, so I don't need to develop those skills, but the trivia you can always get better, and it's a blast.
I'm certainly not camera shy.
Yeah, and like, I'm also part of the Off the Rails network, formerly the PJ Campbell network. We just went through a major rebranding 2 weeks ago.
Man.
We took about a month-long hiatus to really, figure our next steps out. With we are still in the middle of the pandemic. That being said, things are reopening. People are back to work. Our schedules were changing. So, we decided to both rename it and relaunch the way we're doing things. So we do a show every Sunday night called The Unwind, which is live. We have shows like Suddenly Soundtracks, Book Nook, Front Center Mezzanine. We do a very silly show called Box. We have a new show called Something Rotten. We do watch along sometimes. We have a new show coming up called Movies That Aren't Star Wars, which is mostly Sean Sullivan watching movies that aren't Star Wars because he's pretty much,
wonder what that could have been about.
Right.
I think we actually named it on the air.
I think
I'm
we did.
also a part of that network too.
Amber is also part of the Off
Lots
the
of
Rail
networks.
Net.
We do everything basically together.
Yeah. So we have a lot of fun over there. What I love about it is, it's definitely Schmodown ancillary because we're all involved in some way or another, but we don't actually do Schmodown content. So it's like a safe, fun space with people who and recognize. But we're not there breaking down matches. We leave that to the pros over at LGR and stuff, and we just have a good time.
Pros.
Yeah. That's kind of like what this show is.
Like a pro, then like
100%.
Speak for yourself. I am definitely a pro.
Uh-oh. And he's an award-winning producer.
Yeah, exactly. It's 1:30 in the morning, folks.
Yes, it is. Here's the real question I have. You two have, these big networks. When are we launching our 3-person Mets podcast? I mean, there's so many shows on these networks. It has to happen.
Honestly, just say when, and I'm so down. You have no idea.
We all have a lot of thoughts. A lot of thoughts on this.
I could both wax poetic and give
be angry for 30 minutes.
Be angry and give detailed analysis of what I would do differently. Like, to make a long story very short, I think we've seen the impact of the new ownership, but I also think at the same time there are a lot of systems in place that are lingering on from the Wilpon era that simply cannot be changed and rectified in half a season. I think Cohen came in on a sinking ship and he's doing the best he can with his hands to get the water out so it doesn't sink. And I like a lot of the moves, and I remain somewhat bullish about their prospects, especially because the National League East is by far the worst division in all of Major League Baseball this season.
Yeah.
If they were in any other division, I mean, their season would be as good as over at this point. Being in the NL East, I think they have a shot. But it's been fun to watch them play. It's nice to have a full season. So
yeah, that's true.
Let's do a Mets podcast. Just say when.
I'm down.
And coincidentally enough, we just found out we're all going to the same September 11th game in Citi Field, which is just
where they're playing the Yankees.
So we can boo the Yankees loudly.
Very loudly.
Really, very loudly.
Very, very exuberantly.
So stay tuned to one of these networks for this show.
Pictures or videos to PJ so that he cries into his soup.
Yep. And why is he eating soup?
I don't know.
Of all the things he could cry into, you went for soup?
Especially it's summertime. So, I mean, are we really eating soup?
He always got up way earlier than everybody else to go eat breakfast.
He does.
I'm like, why are you like this?
This is the kind of chaotic energy I needed tonight.
Well, listen, you don't get people who work for the Off the Rails network and expect anything to go the way it's supposed to go.
I think I accidentally named it.
You did. And the little tagline is, where we're going, we don't need rails.
I love that.
So,
That is
boom.
incredible.
Well, because anywhere I go, everything always goes off the rails. We've been in a Jungle Cruise review for 10 minutes and haven't even. That's the first time we've ever really said the words.
Yeah. What is this? What is this episode about? I have no idea at this point. We're just gonna keep going on.
Having a good time, though.
95% of the time, neither do we.
Oh,
No,
speaking of the Mets, here we go.
Uh-oh. What do we got? Oh, that's a really nice
Oh, teddy
bear.
bear.
Is that a Syndergaard bear?
It sure is.
Love it. I have all my my whole bobblehead collection in the bedroom. If it were a different kind of episode, I would definitely go and wake up the girlfriend and bring those out. But we're not going to do this here. We have to do.
I have like Syndergaard on the Iron Throne, and
Yes, I have that one.
Mr. Met and Chewbacca and the Millennium Falcon and all that stuff in a case off
Do
camera.
you have Obi-Wan Kenobi?
No, I don't
Robinson
have that.
Cano?
I don't have that one. No.
I just have a Jeff McNeil bobblehead on my desk.
You do have a Jeff McNeil bobblehead.
But he's my Jeff McNeil bobblehead that I got from my first game.
Yep.
I'm just gonna say it. This is probably my favorite episode so far. This is incredible stuff.
Yay!
So
We
If
did
you
it.
want to have a good show, hire Amber and Maxwell. We're not that expensive. Don't worry.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I can afford you
Frankly,
guys.
We're just freaking free. Which
My mom always said, Maxwell, you're cheap and easy.
Wow. Well, I think I'm on the 30-day trial of Amber and Maxwell so far. So I don't know if I'm going to pay for it after 31 days, but if it goes like the rest of these this 12 minutes so far of not talking anything movies, I feel like it would be money well spent.
There you go.
yay! Everybody, money well spent.
Listen,
Where's our stamp of approval?
take a month off of Paramount Plus and sign up for Ember.
Cinemaxwell Plus.
Cinemaxwell Plus? Shh, people aren't supposed to know about that.
What? They can't.
Or if you're watching at like 11 or 12 at night, Maxwell Plus.
Whoa, that's like OnlyFans, but for
Yeah.
Broadway producers.
It's a very niche app.
I am
Very
not,
niche.
I am not taking off my clothes for money.
You could probably send feet pictures and people would give you
Oh,
money. You know
Lord.
that, right? Talk while you send the picture.
There are other things I would do for money, but I'm not taking off my clothes.
Don't say anything else. Don't show your hand.
Subscribe to the Off the Rails Network to find out the answer.
Lick your hand.
Well, guys,
We've done so many unwinds from right here and in other places. It's so ridiculous.
I feel like we're doing an unwind,
I feel
basically.
like we are too.
I love this. I love this episode. Let's try to explain what we've been watching lately. I don't know. Besides Mets games, I think we're all watching those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that you guys have been watching lately, movies, television that you guys want to talk about? Anything that's really stuck out to you?
Well, avoiding the elephant or the giant boat or the river in the room. We went and saw that on Saturday. However, I saw Raya and the Last Dragon finally last night. I thought it was adorable. I'm a huge fan of water-based movies. Like anything like water magic. Yes, please.
Water-based movies.
I love that you're a huge fan of water-based movies because I love sand-based cinema.
It's 1:37 in the morning and I've been up since 8 o'clock.
Me too.
No, you haven't.
Water-based movies.
I was up at
It was
8:30.
like water magic. There were dragons and shit. Okay.
There was dragons and shit in Raya and the Last Dragon.
Best review ever. Did it.
The only thing I really want to talk about is I've been really loving the HBO show The White Lotus.
Ooh, I've been meaning to get into that.
Written and directed by Mike White,
Yep.
who I think is brilliant. It's like very, very pointed satire, class warfare. You have the very wealthy guest staying at a resort in Hawaii, and then you have the staff who is, just dealing with the shit that the wealthy people are doing. I sort of pretend that I keep seeing Kaiser in the background because, as everyone knows, Kaiser's been chilling in Hawaii. It's 4 episodes into a 6-episode miniseries, and it's just like sharp and biting and really interesting and amazing performances from like Jennifer Coolidge, who may be doing career best work, and Connie Britton and Steve Zahn. And my favorite thing is this is a show that wouldn't exist if not for the pandemic. So
Literally, yeah. I mean, there was a whole interview saying that like HBO went to him to make a pandemic show.
Yeah, so he wrote a show that takes place in a resort in Hawaii. They quarantined for 14 days. They rented out the whole resort. They created their own bubble, so there was no one coming in and out, so there was no fear of the spread of the virus. And they shot. Mike White directed every episode. He wrote every episode himself, and as minimal a crew as needed. And so it just goes to show that despite the horrific tragedy of the pandemic, sometimes great art is born out of extenuating circumstances. And it's a really excellent show.
May I bring up the Kaiser comment? Because if Kaiser wasn't an episode of this, it would go from like 6 mini episodes.
Oh, it would be
to
like
being like a 5-hour episode.
Oh yeah, it would be like a 12. It would be like NCIS.
He
would never end.
He'd never stop talking, and then he'd talk about the wrong thing, not related to the episode, and then nobody would know what he's talking about.
Oh, I once called Kaiser for like the most simplistic piece of advice, and next thing I knew, 4 hours had gone by.
This is John Kaiser of the movie Trivia Schmodown. He's a character, isn't he? Like he just.
Well, what I like to say is every time you see him or talk to him, he just becomes a little more Beetlejuice. So be careful you don't say his name 3 times.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Show up. Hi kids, it's showtime. I'm like, John, calm down.
I feel like you've said it more than 3 times though, so maybe we
not
should
in a row.
If we say it in a row, like he will get the StreamYard link
somehow. Yeah, he'll be like, I'm here. Like,
at this point, why not? Why not have him on the stream? Because this is incredible stuff. I will say about the White Lotus, I've been meaning to get into it. The thing that's been frustrating me with these HBO limited series is that most of the time they don't become limited anymore. Like we saw this with Big Little Lies, and now with Mayor of Easttown, there's rumors of a season 2. Like I feel like is this the kind of show that limited series? But could you see a season 2 of this thing?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think they could make a season 2 if they wanted to. You know, and seeing as how, Big Little Lies was based on a book, right? So the first season, which I thought was fantastic, of Big Little Lies.
Fantastic, yeah.
Told the complete story of the book, and then season 2 was not nearly as good because they're sort of making it up as they go along. At least with the White Lotus, it's an original idea that Mike White just came up with. So, like, I could definitely see... Again, I haven't seen the last 2 episodes, haven't aired yet. So for all I know, the resort could explode. I don't think that's going to happen, but like, they could definitely go back to the resort. I would see it then focusing on the crew with a new group of guests. So it wouldn't bother me that much if they did that. But like with Big Little Lies, it did bother me because it was based on a book and then they decided to keep going. But I think Mike White is going to tell a very complete story in this, and then maybe down the line they'll do more.
And it's funny too, because I don't know what it is. Lately, I'm more attracted to the limited series. It's just like getting into a new show is very daunting these days because there's so many streaming services. There's so many shows coming out. Like, I don't. It's just chaotic.
It's nice to know when you start something that you're gonna get an ending.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, especially with like, I feel like Netflix now is canceling everything. So a lot of those fan bases that watch these shows, it's like
it's the same problem I have with a lot of blockbuster filmmaking. And I'll actually talk about this a little bit with Jungle Cruise because I think it avoids this trap. Like one that I just saw that I really didn't care for that does this is Snake Eyes, right? So putting aside all the issues I had with the movie, the last 20 minutes don't conclude the story of the film. It sets up stuff for a sequel that we're almost definitively never going to get because of how poorly it's doing at the box office, which of course is partly due to the pandemic and partly due to the fact that I don't think many people wanted to see a Snake Eyes movie to begin with. So, it's very similar with television now that these networks are giving such short leases to shows. I'm all for telling as much of a complete story as you can in a season, and then if you're lucky enough to get a season 2, keep going. But then you have something like Manifest, which had a 6-season plan, got canceled after 3 seasons. The end of the 3rd season had a massive cliffhanger. no one, Netflix may pick it up. There's been a lot of talk. I don't even like the show, but I just think it's fascinating when the network pulls the plug on a moderately successful show with so much unresolved story.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
And I think that's slowly starting to seep into the streaming services, because for so long it was like network stuff you never knew. Like you can watch a comedy, a drama, it can have like a really bad stretch of ratings and then it's done.
Right.
And for so long we thought, okay, if it's on a streaming service, most likely they're going to stick with it, because who knows how to measure viewership in relation to budget.
I think places like Disney Plus and HBO Max and even Paramount Plus are doing a pretty good job at it. Netflix's big problem is that they have too many shows.
Too many, way too many.
There are so many shows that I don't even know when they're premiering, and I don't think they give the shows long enough time to linger and gestate in the zeitgeist to even determine if a second season is worthwhile or not.
You can literally get lost in a Netflix profile,
like
just never find your way back out.
What was that show? Was it Teenage Bounty Hunters? Is that what it was called? Something like that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Which I thought was a blast and I really enjoyed. And I feel like 3 days after it had premiered, they said it's not getting another season. I'm like, 3 days is not enough time. Like you're releasing 150 brand new shows a year. You need to let these things linger. On the flip side, that's why I loved The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor so much, is each season told a complete story. If they never make more, you got the beginning, the middle, and the end. So that was really a great way to do it.
Yeah, and especially with Netflix, like everything just drops all at once. And Disney, HBO Max, they're all doing like weekly stuff.
I could talk for hours about why 9 times out of 10 prefer a weekly drop of TV shows, but that's for another podcast.
I may have to kill him.
I know you two are like super into theme parks and Disney and all that. Are you guys watching this Behind the Attraction on Disney Plus?
Let me tell you about the time we watched the Tower of Terror episode
together.
Please.
So I'm a former Tower of Terror bellhop. I worked at it was my happy place. Actually, my sister and I both worked there 6 years apart. I worked there in 2006. So strangely enough, actually, and this is funny because I've watched the entire series. He has not. I know that for a fact because normally we would have ended up watching it together, and I just turned it on while I was like packing for something. So in the Tower of Terror episode, my lovely, wonderful friend TJ is actually the profile bellhop from Florida. And he was on it's so dope. He was on the opening team. He was there, like he literally, the only times that he left was to open attractions that he really wanted to open. Specifically the new Star Tours when they changed it over from the OG to like the Adventures Continue. Right. And then Galaxy's Edge. So I don't think he might have left for something else, but I know he was at Star Tours and I know he was at Galaxy's Edge on the opening team for Rise and for Falcon, or Smugglers as people call it. So that's really cool to me. Well, we were watching the episode and I saw him pop on the screen. I was like, TJ! And like I screeched.
She did screech.
I was literally just like telling him random things about the building because I remember all of that stuff. And then we were there this past Sunday. So yeah.
We did ride the Tower of Terror 2 days ago.
We did.
It was great.
It was good times.
Totally not jealous.
It is a wonderful, amazing attraction. I love watching the behind the attractions things. The only critique that I have is that they make it more about what's here today and not the actual modern Marvel side of the story.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I want to see the mechanics. I want to see the Imagineering. And whilst I find all of the carbon-based makeup of everything in Tokyo fascinating, because the story is really cool and I like the way they wrap it into the Society of Explorers and Adventures, and I'm sure we'll talk about that one too because Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
But I didn't need to see Joe Rody for 30 minutes.
Well, no one ever needs to see that ear for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I have not watched all of it. I'm enjoying it, but I think it was partly my own fault. It's like I loved the Imagineering story on Disney Plus.
I was going to say, yeah.
And I was expecting something in that vein. The tone of this show is a lot snarkier. And then when I realized
Yeah.
it was by the same team that did the Netflix show The Movies That Made Us and The Toys That Made Us. It is very much in that mold. Same editing style.
Now,
Yes.
Paget Brewster from Criminal Minds and other stuff is the narrator, and they give her lots of like quips and jokes. And
quips and jokes hit well with me, but not everybody, especially if they want to watch something serious and talking about their favorite attractions. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. So like, I agree. Like, I was expecting more of a modern Marvels type thing where they actually talk about and show footage of like the construction, and it was more like a silly look at like the legacy of the rides. It's definitely entertaining,
Now,
but it's just not what I hoped it would be. I guess.
I would like to say that the
Yes.
Star Tours episode has one of the coolest things that I didn't realize I didn't know.
There's something you don't know.
Well, now I know it.
So she does know now.
Oh, now she knows. Great.
Oh boy.
They explain how Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run works.
Mm-hmm.
How you load and how it moves and how it unloads. And it's actually a carousel like Carousel of Progress. So you don't enter and exit in the same place. So you come in like you walk through the queue, you make it to the actual like the Hondo room. Then you go through that room into where they give you the cards or whatever they're doing now to group you into your groupings. They may be giving the cards back out. I know that they're doing it at Fallon again, but who knows? It's, those are the COVID cards. We basically said that they were going to be covered in like pandemic. Like they call all of them called it the COVID, like the COVID flu or whatever, like the Batu flu. One of my very best friends opened it too. So, but so then you walk down a little hallway and there are two little hallways. Well, there's like I think there's 2 or 3 different bays that you can walk into, and it's one big carousel where you have 6 chambers, 1 loading, 1 unloading, and then 4 in show. And so
pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really neat to me. I think it's absolutely cool. And I'm obsessed with theme park technology.
Yeah.
I will literally go find the modulators and play them all day. Like, except I need somebody to make a Tower of Terror Orlando and not the California/Paris version, because that's the real Tower of Terror. And I would like my personal building to be represented with my 5th dimension.
Is your name on the deed?
I wrote my name on a wall somewhere.
Okay. So I think that counts for something.
I was one of the walls blew out. Like, so in the stairwells, they're double layered. And because of the drop shafts being so like heavily pressurized, the vehicles actually, so the vertical vehicle conveyance, or the drop shafts, right? 39 miles per hour is the faster than the speed of gravity. So that's about the speed that the counter levers pull the vehicles. That sometimes creates pressure bubbles within the envelope of the ride. And yep, that's exactly how the text said it. So stop being ridiculous.
No, I'm just laughing. It's like, come for a Jungle Cruise.
You're a child.
I'm
blows out walls.
I'm laughing at the notion that people tune into this expecting a Jungle Cruise review. They just got a 20-minute explanation of the physics of the Tower of Terror
from a bellhop.
Anyways.
But yeah,
no, I mean, this is fascinating stuff. And what else are we going to talk about 2 o'clock in the morning?
It's definitely an enjoyable show. I would just say, if you better understand the tone and what you're getting yourself into, the more likely you are to enjoy it.
It's enjoyable.
I'm only like 1 episode in. I watched the Jungle Cruise episode, and I mean, it was fine, but I could definitely pick up, like you said, Max, the editing, and I don't care for those Netflix shows. But this is interesting enough to where I'll probably stick with it. But it's also like a lot of the stuff I can imagine is covered in Imagineering Story, which was a phenomenal series that launched with Disney Plus.
Yeah, so good.
But also but there's also like a ton of YouTube channels dedicated to like history of rides, like the Funkland and everything like that. That I've been
Expedition Theme Park is a favorite of mine.
I have a couple of favorites.
So a lot of stuff, it's like it's covered already, and I'm expecting a lot of repetitive like facts that I already know.
I think like 3 of the episodes are Magic Kingdom. It's Jungle Cruise. Haunted Mansion is one of them. because they talk about the stretch room.
Star Tours,
Tower, and so we've got 2 studios, 3 Kingdom. The attractions hostess that does all 3 Kingdom, like that's in the Jungle Cruise one, does all 3 Kingdom rides.
huh?
Yeah, and I was like, huh, I know her. I was like,
You know everybody who works at the theme parks.
their staff.
I understand.
Okay.
I mean, she has a bubbly personality. Like, she's gonna make friends with everybody, right? Just makes sense.
I don't spend time with people who have personality.
Okay, bye.
Oh my God. Let's just keep him in that hood for the rest of this episode.
Can you talk like Emperor Palpatine?
Unlimited power.
No.
I think that's pretty spot on.
Yes.
Max, if everything falls away with your network and producing musicals, I think you have a future in Palpatine impersonators.
Perfect.
And McDermott, look me up.
I'll just go spend time on the beach from Old, and I'll look just like him.
Oh man, what a movie that was, huh? Old.
By far
Listen.
the worst movie I've seen this year.
Yikes! Did you watch Space Jam?
Space Jam at least was kind of fun.
We watched it here.
To be fair, I was also super crossfaded when I watched Space Jam.
Yeah,
That might
you
have
were.
something to do with it then.
Yeah,
It was an adventure.
it was a trip.
So I'll say what I just briefly. I haven't been watching a lot lately, but I'm just about to finish up season 2 of Mythic Quest on Apple Plus.
Oh, we love Mythic
I
Quest.
meant to bring it up because I saw you tweeted about it.
I love this show.
I love everything that they have done. I love the relationship in season 2.
Yes.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Parking garage kisses. I loved Everlight.
The
I love the quarantine
the
episode.
quarantine episode was brilliant.
With
For
with
sure.
the Rube Goldberg machine. Wasn't that what it's called?
So
Like,
yeah,
so
good.
good.
Yeah.
Did you hear how they filmed that?
I did not know.
So there's an article. If you Google Mythic Quest quarantine episode,
Okay.
because that's what I like to do. I like to look up random things. This episode, they sent them all iPhones.
Uh-huh.
And like, so all of the equipment you would need, they shot everything by themselves and just, went for it there, sent back the iPhones and everything, had them like, so the team sterilized them when they got them and cut and edited the raw footage. Then they put in all of the overlays and everything and kind of made it look like they were on video calls and all that stuff. Poppy, like, so when Ian comes to meet Poppy at her apartment, it's obvious it's not him.
Right.
It's Poppy's real life husband. Like,
Get out.
dressed as Ian. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
and in the dark, so they darkened her apartment because she's supposed to be depressed anyway. And like, that's the idea. So you didn't have to see his face. You could only see the mask and the hat. But yeah, so they did such a great job. I don't know what it is about this crew. They did such a great job with It's Always Sunny of making you like love and hate these 5 people. And just like build this terrible story around them and all the terrible things they do to Cricket.
Fucking Frank.
And Frank, the trash man. And like I almost started singing the Nightman, but that's fine. But they took Mythic Quest, right? Exactly. So if It's Always Sunny is about terrible people, Mythic Quest is about a terrible workplace with great people.
That's true.
And
I'm not a Sunny person either, which is like that's why I was kind of hesitant to start this. I'm like, Rob McElhenney,
I'm not a huge Sunny fan. I find
it's just too mean
in small doses, and then
but
thank you. Yes.
This has like Mythic Quest has the elements of Sunny I liked with much richer storytelling and characters.
And I love, I never get over seeing David Hornsby getting put into a decent role.
for sure. He doesn't.
Well, he's on Good Girls too, and I'm just like,
oh yeah, that show got canceled.
Don't even talk to me about that. That makes me mad. But yeah, I love Mythic
I'm
Quest.
sorry, what was that? Okay.
I love Mythic Quest. I saw that you liked it on Twitter. I was like,
oh my god. I got 2 episodes left. I do enjoy like it does this thing in season 2 where a lot of these comedy shows they kind of like have these 1 or 2 off episodes that have nothing to do with the show, and It's in this season. I just finished those episodes. Those were really great with CW. And this is honestly like my favorite sitcom since The Office. I love it.
My favorite episode of the first season was the one with Jake Johnson and Kristen Milioti.
Mine too.
So good.
Like, it really wasn't about the characters at all, but it was beautiful, beautiful storytelling.
But that story is still in the main.
Absolutely.
Overarching story.
It has very much to do with the story, but it's such a bold shift to like not have your main characters at all and still make it compelling.
I think the thing you can tell the difference between somebody who actually gets with the story that they're trying to tell, the narrative, versus somebody who's just a casual watcher, by how much they like that specific episode.
Yeah, I love that episode.
And whether or not they see the Doc and Beans tie-in finally when you get to the finale of the season.
Beans.
I know, I love them so much. They're so cute. I can never get over Kristen Milioti and Jake Johnson in their own respective.
It's such a great show, and that's why I kind of like put it out there on Twitter the other day. It's like I have a feeling that the show just isn't being watched by enough people, and that might just be an Apple Plus thing. That's not like Ted Lasso, even though that's probably like it's popular, but it's not as popular as like a Netflix show.
I saw a graphic recently that illustrated that whilst Ted Lasso is definitely the most popular Apple Plus show, it's still compared to Netflix, Disney Plus,
it's just nothing.
HBO Max is not that highly watched. Although I suspect that's going to change when Ted Lasso wins like every Emmy in September.
And what will end up happening is that will open the floodgates and more people will start subscribing, and then that's when people are going to find Mythic Quest.
Because I feel like if you like Ted Lasso, you'll like Mythic Quest. They're cut
for sure.
Except one's more wholesome.
Ted Lasso is a little more wholesome.
Yes. Oh, speaking of which, Ted Lasso, such a great show.
So good.
Great. Oh my god, I'm so glad it's back.
So good.
Didn't see the latest episode, but yeah, I mean,
we only saw the first one, so
honestly, like both Mythic Quest and Ted Lasso, kind of like comfort food. Like you just watch and you laugh and you have a good time. It's just such a great show. So please check out Mythic Quest. Are you guys in on Schmigadoon?
We're gonna watch it.
I want to watch it because obviously I'm musicals, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
You like musicals?
No.
I'm such a huge.
I definitely am not getting lyrics from my second favorite movie, which happens to be a musical, tattooed on my arm this week. Definitely not doing it.
That'd be tattoo number 9 for you.
That'll be my 9th tattoo. Yes.
9.
I'm a huge musical person. I'm just waiting for like the whole season to drop and then I could just binge it, because I mean, for certain shows I like watching week to week, but that's one that I could probably just like go through no problem. But I'm such a huge fan of like Keegan Michael Key and Cicely Tyson, and the trailer looked great.
I'm excited to watch it. There's just so much to watch.
It really is. It's a lot to keep up with.
Finite amount of time.
Like, I kind of wish that all of the so much to watch had been here like a year and a half ago, because then I just could have.
I wish it had been here like 20 years ago when all there was to watch was like The Sopranos.
Back in my day, we had channels 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11. All right,
back these kids in my don't know day, anything. All you had to choose from was Married with Children or the news.
Oh my god!
We didn't even have the clicker. You had to go up to the TV and turn it yourself.
You had to press the little.
Bob, move the ears. The reception's bad.
I was just literally trying to think of what 20 years ago was, and I was like, "Holy shit! I was 17 and about to graduate from high school."
Oh yeah, 20 years ago was actually like there was tons of TV. It's like feels like. Anyways, I'm old. We're old. It's fine.
We're very old.
Very old. I'm boned.
Very old.
Can I go back another 20 years? Thanks, Mai.
20 years ago, we were almost in. Well, it was a year after Mets in the World Series. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm essentially what I'm doing here is I'm just pitching our Mets show. So that's all this is.
You don't have to pitch it. It's happening.
It's going to be called Jungle Cruise.
Yes. Jungle Cruise, ladies and gentlemen. So I guess it's 40 minutes in. This is a record for the show.
I do it at 10 minutes. And now we're 30 minutes later.
We were talking before. I was like, how long do you think this is going to be? She's like,
Can't go that long.
30, 40 minutes. We haven't even talked about the movie yet, and it's 40 minutes.
Didn't even talk about Jungle Cruise, and there's a lot to say about Jungle Cruise.
I don't know where you land on it, but there is a lot to say.
Did you like it?
So, just everybody, just a reminder, non-spoiler, and then we'll go into spoilers. We'll start the non-spoiler section. So Jungle Cruise, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't like fully. I had no anticipation for this movie. It just seemed like because Disney live action stuff lately, I'm just not into. Like I wasn't into Cruella and a lot like Wrinkle in Time and all the stuff that they're
because I was like, I know
drop
you love
on
Cruella.
Disney Plus.
I did love Cruella.
It was fine. Like it just, I'm over the villain backstory movies. I'm done with it.
That's fair.
So this one was kind of like a pleasant surprise to me. I had a good time in the theater, and it's not exactly the kind of movie that you run out and see, and it helps that you can spend $30 if you're a family. You could spend $30, watch it at home on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
but it's a fun time to watch like with a crowd, and a lot of chemistry, good chemistry with The Rock and Emily Blunt. I love them in this movie, although we'll talk about The Rock. I don't know if he was exactly the right person to be in this movie. At times he's just like super The Rock, and I don't know if it needed that. But it really reminded me of like when I was a kid, these 90 adventure movies. It has a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean in it. It's got a lot of Indiana Jones. It pretty much, it's like a throwback to what I would watch as a kid in the 90s. But let me know, Amber, what did you think about the movie?
Honestly, I'm going to second everything you said because I legitimately leaned to him and I was like, do you feel like you're watching Pirates? Like, because Pirates was the only ride movie that stuck with the masses. And I get it. That replicate what works and build on that. I loved it. I literally had no hype. In fact, I made him mad one day because I said I didn't care about seeing it. And primarily because of all of those flops. I was really nervous, but I also know that they've upped their game over the last couple of years. So, we've been getting a lot more quality entries in movies. And, we could sit here and say, well, I wasn't super into this, but there are people still paid for it. And that's really the nicest part about all this. Disney has kind of revitalized how they do their live action movies. That being said, in and of itself, I think that if they shut up. He's making fun of me. I think that if they replicate the formula, I think they have a lot of material based off of the entities surrounding the Jungle Cruise because the movie felt very Adventureland. It felt very Disney in a way that I haven't felt that Disney feel in a while. And I'm a big Society of Explorers and Adventurers person. I loved the Adventurers Club. I love going to the Skipper Canteen. I love the hidden gems that make Disney so magical. And those have been slowly cleaned away from the theme parks. And this felt like they were like, synergy, we're back. Let's give you this word again. Let's mix everything and mingle it. And we're going to give you as many movies as you want built on this one franchise, but they won't just be built on this franchise.
Yeah.
So it really felt like they were finally tying this overarching story together and building something that they needed to build on a long time ago because they've lost a lot of good attractions because they haven't built that connection. I'm going to get off that soapbox now.
Maxwell, what did you think about the movie, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, so conversely to both of you, I was actually pretty hyped for this movie. I was at D23 in 2019. And
more humble brags for Max. What else is new?
No, and The Rock and Emily Blunt were there, and they had like a big presentation from the movie. That was the first time they had shown footage, and obviously it's promotional, and they're there to sell the product. But I felt like even then, both The Rock and Emily Blunt, it felt at least somewhat genuine that they really had a good time making this movie, and I liked the footage that I saw. And the movie delivered. I'm like super in the pocket for this style of swashbuckling adventure movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, we could sit here all day and lament how it's basically a like beat for beat ripoff of The Mummy, down to the fact that it's
pretty
a
much.
girl and her brother, and then a suave adventurer guy, all this other stuff. I don't care, because for me it worked. I had a blast watching this movie. I loved all of the like jokes that come from the ride. Like, so we saw it at Disney Springs, and like some of the lines that they replicated from the ride, like the whole theater applauded. So there's a really fun energy in the theater. And I think the director, who's done stuff with a lot of work with Liam Neeson, and then he did like Orphan and The Shallows, he actually really brought a lot of energy and visual style to it. It felt like there was some level of an authorial or directorial stamp to it, like some use of slow-mo in places that was really cool. The fact that James Newton Howard wrote a great score, but then to have Metallica come in and add to it was like a bold swing that I think really worked.
And you don't realize it if you don't know what you're listening to.
Yeah. I think, sometimes the CG wasn't as good as it can be.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest complaint, but I'm not the type of person that lets wonky CG ruin an experience. If I'm enjoying the characters and the story, I can forgive that. And I did. I loved the characters. I loved the romance. I thought Jesse Plemons was just an over-the-top delight as the villain. I had a super, super fun time, and it's definitely something I could see myself revisiting and becoming like in my staple of like adventure movies I put on when I'm in the mood for that sort of movie.
I think it's definitely going to be on the shelf.
Yeah. And it's definitely going to be an IG movie in swashbuckling.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's I have a problem a lot of times when it seems like the tone is all over the place and the actors don't know what movie they're in. Everybody knew what movie they were in with Jungle Cruise.
They got the assignment and they accomplished it.
I mean, Jack Whitehall, who is really funny in this movie, he's like the kind of the wacky brother character, and he nails it.
We're not doing spoilers just yet.
Not yet.
Okay, because there's something I really want to talk about his character, but I want to save it.
I think if you've seen the movie, you probably have a good idea what that could be.
Yeah, but everyone in the cast, like, I love when I watch a movie and it's clear that everyone knew what movie they were making.
100%.
Like everyone from Paul Giamatti
to
my God, Jesse Plemons to Jack Whitehall. I love that Trader Sam is a character in this movie. Like, if you know anything about Disney lore and like Adventureland, the fact that Trader Sam is a character, like, it had my Disney Parks nerd heart all aflutter.
I think I screeched.
Yeah. No, you like grabbed my arm and you're like ah! It sounds cheesy, but like, this is why I love big blockbuster entertainment, when it's just fun. Like, this movie to me is pure fun in a way that like I said, I'm super in the pocket for this type of movie.
It gives you a lot of nostalgia. I think to see and love this movie, you have to have been a child who went to the parks. Like, if you didn't, it just doesn't hit.
And it feels like a movie that's really easy to be cynical about, and I've definitely seen a fair share of that. But
yeah, for
me, like, I have no cynicism for this movie at all. It's just like, you're right. It even though it was the first time I'd seen it, it felt like I was already nostalgic for it. Like, I love movies where people are like swinging around on ropes and they're in the water and they're in the jungle and there's like magic.
I would classify this as a water-based movie.
Yes, absolutely.
I've never written that down.
I think I really liked. I don't think it's a spoiler. Like, as the movie goes on and new elements are introduced, I like the way, like, the history and the magic of what was happening was folded in. I thought was really smartly written. Within the parameters of a Disney theme park movie. We're not talking about, something by Paul Thomas Anderson here, but I think for what this movie wants to be, I think it's pretty much a home run, because I'm a firm believer in a movie sets out to accomplish a certain set of goals. And to me, Jungle Cruise nailed those goals.
Agreed.
And I totally get the criticisms of this movie. How this movie cost $200 million and at time looks like hot garbage with the effects. Like, talk about pirates again. those effects in the first Pirates of the Caribbean and even in Dead Man's Chest.
Oh, I still think
incredible.
Davy Jones is the greatest special effect maybe of all time.
It's so good, and that movie is what, almost 20 years old. So
2006, yeah.
So it's like
I don't think the CG in this movie was terrible. It just some of it wasn't great. But I don't really care about CGI. I don't. People are always like the CGI is terrible, so the movies are, and I'm like, meh.
Well, when there's points in this movie where it kind of slows down and you can clearly see that they're in front of a green screen, it's when, a lot of times movies, I mean, if it's $200 million, I would expect, some kind of traveling involved. Like these guys would.
50 million of that probably just went to The Rock.
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially since like his
tattoos and his biceps.
I mean, he produced the movie, like his company helped produce this movie. So that's totally fair. But there's like a animal character in this that just looks awful.
Although I love the character.
Yeah,
it's a good, it's a new, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me, but I totally, it's a Disney thing. You always have to have like an animal side character.
I'm a sucker for an animal sidekick. What can I say?
I'm a sucker for like a cat sidekick. So I'm just like, I want her. Can I has her? He's just like, okay, calm down. She's not real. I'm like, but I want her.
But like you said, Max, I mean, this is like a carbon copy of The Mummy.
Yeah,
it really is. So in a way, if you're going to spend that kind of money on this movie, which is just insane to me, how
The Mummy is one of my favorite movies. I love The Mummy with all my heart. And look, if you're going to rip something off, that's not a bad place to start. And I think it's a really good rip off.
It's a fun time. Like, if you go to the movies wanting a fun time, this is the movie for you. There's things in this film that make absolutely no sense. The rules in this universe doesn't make much sense. But if you just like want to vibe with The Rock and Emily Blunt on a river, this movie's for you.
I think Emily Blunt is one of the great woman movie stars of our generation. She's an incredible actress, and I think she should have at least 3 or if not 4 Oscar nominations that she hasn't gotten. But like pound for pound in terms of like sheer charisma and screen presence, like you look at this, Quiet Place, Mary Poppins Returns, even going back to Devil Wears Prada, she is incredible on screen.
She has a ton of range.
So much range, so much
and
depth.
She's one of the actors that keeps getting cast in musicals who can actually sing and should be continuously cast in musicals. Like, I'm still kind of mad she wasn't Oscar nominated for Mary Poppins Returns. I thought that was a brilliant performance.
Are you guys on the Mary Poppins Returns train? How great was that movie?
Great movie.
It's so good.
Loved it. Loved that movie.
A lot of people like the criticisms that I heard were all like, why is Lin-Manuel Miranda in this?
I loved Lin in that. I thought he was great. He's great. Yeah, I love Mary Poppins Returns.
Everybody I know doesn't like that movie. I don't get it.
I have Mary Poppins Returns Alamo Drafthouse Pint Glass in my cabinet over there.
God.
He's a collector.
Honestly, it's kind of like right there with the original for me. Like, I love Emily Blunt is fantastic.
She's great. I mean, you would never think anyone could come close to Julie Andrews. Emily does.
She does. She really does. And she kind of does have like a Mary Poppins vibe in this too.
Yeah.
Like, she's very wacky. So I think she kind of drew from that role.
Like the wink and smirk.
Like I said, to me, she's the ideal actress because she's an incredible actress, but she's also a movie star.
For sure.
And we don't see that a lot.
It's no wonder why John Krasinski went for her, man.
Yeah.
She holds her own with The Rock too. Like,
I love The Rock, and I think he's really enjoyable in this movie. But it's Emily Blunt's movie. She's the lead. She has the emotional arc of the film. It's through her eyes as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, and I honestly would be tempted to slightly argue that they balance each other out very well.
Sure.
That it's almost like you can feel that it leans more towards her, and every time it leans just slightly too much and dips, somehow they bring it back to him, and they're able to balance it like it's a really.
They
good
do
seesaw.
work really. I saw someone say something to the effect of The Rock is so fun to watch, but never has romantic or sexual chemistry with anyone in a movie. I don't know if I agree with that because I felt like him and Emily Blunt actually worked really, really well together.
They had something here.
Not to say, what does or doesn't happen to those characters, but, they definitely felt like a good team. Like they had that sort of friendship chemistry where you could see them working together again, whether in a follow-up to this or something else, where you're like, oh yeah, I liked them together last time. Seeing them again together is a good idea.
There's a really great shot that kind of echoes that, and it's basically like the walking away from the explosion shot.
Yeah.
And they're all tousled and like they have done the thing, and it's like it's perfect. It's the thing that ties together their chemistry.
Well, that's what I was sort of saying, where the director like made some choices that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see in a Disney adventure movie that feel a little out of left field, but I think add a real sense of character to this movie. And it's no surprise to me why The Rock decided to handpick him to direct his Black Adam movie.
It definitely intrigues me more about Black Adam too, because I mean, it's not like The Rock works with these A-list directors, like but Dave Bautista, right? He's worked with Denis Villeneuve, he's worked with James Gunn. The Rock kind of like works with these, I don't want to say like B movie directors, but there's none that like really transcends genre.
He's very loyal to who he works with. Like I think he's worked with like Ross and Marshall Thurber like 3 or 4 times now, and it's like okay, yeah.
But yeah, I think we all like this movie.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's amazing, but it's such a good time. You know, just this is like the perfect movie to just fill your mouth with popcorn and enjoy and have fun with it. We sure did too. So let's go into spoilers. I know, Max, you wanted to talk about a certain character and what your issue was with.
No, not an issue at all.
As I grab my laptop charger, so this is going to be the Amber and Maxwell show for a couple minutes.
Oh boy,
enjoy.
Thanks. Oh boy, we even got the full screen. Hey,
look, so this isn't necessarily the type of movie where I think spoilers make or break it. So, you know, yeah, The Rock and Emily Blunt get together romantically, and I actually found myself like pretty compelled by it. It was sweet. There's a really good twist with The Rock's character, Frank, who's actually Francisco, and was actually an immortal who had been alive for 400 years.
He was part of the same crew that they tell you about at the beginning, and
which I didn't see coming, and I liked a lot.
He betrayed his best friend, who was like his brother.
Yeah, so it added a nice bit of like mythological lore to the characters, and you know, you think at the beginning that he is just a random skipper that Emily Blunt's character is hiring, but he actually is far more invested in the journey than you expect. But
not just invested in it, he is basically the journey.
He is the journey. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
journey into The Rock's imagination. But what I wanted to talk about is, so, you know, we've heard for years, like, this movie has Disney's first gay character. No, this movie has Disney's first gay character. And yeah, there have definitely been some queer characters in Disney movies, but they're normally like, blink and you miss it sort of thing. And to be fair, in this movie, Jack Whitehall's character does not say, I am gay. Those words don't come out of his mouth. But there is this, I thought, you know, and for those who don't know, I am proudly and openly pansexual. I consider myself part of the queer community. There's this really lovely scene sort of on the side of the jungle where they're taking a rest, where Jack Whitehall's character explains about how, you know, he kept being offered these meeting these wonderful women and being set up with them, and he decided not to pursue a relationship with them because his interests lie elsewhere. It was very clear without explicitly saying it that his character was gay.
Well, you got a 20-minute scene of The Rock throwing all his luggage into the river.
Right.
After that point, I don't think there was any disputing it.
No, and yes. I could see how one could argue that certain choices with the character are very much a stereotype. However, I think Jack Whitehall's performance actually, especially as the film goes on, does a really nice job to humanize his character and have more depth to it. And this scene in specific that I'm talking about, I thought hit really well for me. It was nice to see. Yeah. I turned to Amber and said, well, this is a scene they could easily cut to get the movie released in China, because as we know, China has zero tolerance.
Which it probably will be cut, unfortunately.
Probably will be, which is a whole other thing. But what really I loved about it was The Rock's character, like Frank's reaction to it.
You're like, okay.
He was like, okay, that's great. Yeah. And that they're, very slowly and, one could argue cynically, just for representation's sakes, folding these things into these big budget family adventure movies. I thought this was a really good example of how you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. It's not groundbreaking. It's not going to win any GLAAD awards, but I think it's a good step forward. And despite initially in the movie being a little worried that, oh God, this is a really over the top gay caricature, that's not how I ended up seeing it. I thought Jack Whitehall and the writing created a more nuanced, silly, sure, over the top, sure, lots of good jokes, but he felt by the end like a fleshed out human.
I have a statement on that, and I was thinking about it. So in a lot of cases, the stereotype kind of comes with an awkward trope. Mm-hmm. And they kind of make him into a joke, but slowly ease him into being a human. So like they start off in a comfort zone for people who may not be ready to have that sort of connection to the character or understand that information. And then they ease you down that road and to that place. And it's very interesting how it works. And I thought it was a very good way to tell the story and to kind of give his character credence, because the story's not about his character.
Yeah.
The story's about, the main characters. So Lily and Frank. And you got that little bit of depth that was slightly important for extrapolation, and then you moved on. And it was perfect. They touched on it easily, and it just moved forward.
Yeah, and I like too how, I found myself wondering at a certain point, like, why is this character even bothering to go on this journey in the jungle? He doesn't seem like the type of person who would want to do it. But then when you sort of find out that their family disowned him, but Emily Blunt's character, stood by him, it makes sense. They have this like beautiful loyalty to each other, this like acceptance and understanding, and this like very powerful sibling relationship within the context of a Disney adventure movie. I feel like I always need to add that caveat, because people, when you say things on shows like this, will take anything you say out of context. But it worked. I thought it was a really nice touch that added something extra that, to me, again, as someone who considers himself queer, it worked for me.
Yeah.
I liked like how they executed it. My problem with Disney, though, when they do this kind of stuff, is most of the time they tiptoe around what they're trying to get across, but then in anticipation of the movie being released, they pat themselves on the back for doing such a thing. It's more like, listen, if you're gonna have these kind of characters portrayed on screen, just have them be gay. Like, just come out with it. Like, you like with the whole Beauty and the Beast thing, where like, oh, this is our first openly gay character, and it was nothing.
I agree with what you're saying, but I do always wonder how much of it is Disney actually patting themselves on the back, or the media machine hearing one snippet and creating their own narrative out of it. Because when all these websites write about it, I'm sure that's what Disney wanted, but it sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that the same journalists that end up lamenting Disney for patting themselves on the back are the ones who wrote the article about LeFou is gay in Beauty and the Beast.
That's a fair point.
I felt of all of the examples of this sort of thing, this was maybe handled the best, and 100%. It does tiptoe around it a little bit, but it's more explicit than a lot of movies. And considering when and where this movie takes place, I mean, words like gay and queer and all of that were not even really in the lexicon anyways.
Yeah, we can't all be David Rose with his beautiful wine speech.
Right. This was, in the early 1900s.
Especially like in that time, it happened, but it wasn't widely acceptable
at all.
So
for sure.
So I mean, you had to hide and like do schemes like a gay man marries a lesbian woman and they have kids and then they have partners.
Oh, you read that story too?
I did.
That was so beautiful.
I was like, oh. we follow a lot of the same people and read the same articles.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
we're actually one person. We just have like mastered like Doctor Strange, where we can like project into two people.
Huh. That makes a lot of sense.
Doesn't it?
Thank you. I literally reminder. So Bobby saw this, but you guys didn't. I was wearing the same jacket on the plane and to the house, and I was literally going to wear it for the review, and then I was like, okay, I'm not going to twin. We're not
Should
doing
have.
it.
I mean, I think you kind of just put yourselves on blast. You just revealed the secret. But I mean, I think that would have been a nice Easter egg to have, that you guys are one person wearing the same things.
She did once pick me up at the airport so we could go to Universal Studios. We did not plan it, and we were legitimately wearing the same T-Turtle WandaVision
But we
shirt.
didn't notice it
We didn't
immediately.
notice it. It
We
took a little
noticed it
flash.
driving to Universal.
like, wait.
We're like,
The same shirt.
what the hell?
It's just this sort of
Really
stuff
did
that
happen.
ends up
So-
happening with us.
So yeah, the jacket
love
was
that.
within reach. It just happened that way. This is what we do.
I like this look though. Now it's and there we go. Do you have a Palpatine impression now, Amber?
It's warm.
I love
This
this.
is my impression.
Just sitting with the hood up.
He makes this like really weird face when he's under the hood.
He's like this.
He's like, and he walks kind of like this. I'm like, Ian, what are you doing?
That's pretty much half of his Palpatine performance is.
God. I'm loving what's happening right now.
This is why we get paid the big bucks.
We're consistently like this.
It's exhausting.
It's now 2:30 in the morning, and you have this kind of energy still. This is pretty impressive.
I have to work at 9.
Uh-oh.
Oop.
What was going on with the villains in this movie? Did we need to? I felt like they should have just picked a lane, because I mean, Jesse Plemons, I kind of wish he went more wacky than what he did. Like, I loved what he was doing, but I kind of wanted him just full, like every scene he was in, just being
I
over the
thought
top,
he
like
was-
Dr. Evil.
I mean, look, he has a scene where he argues with the Beast, so I don't know how much more over the top
That's true.
he can get. I hear what you're saying about the two villains thing, but I think once they brought sort of the supernatural and magic into it,
The mythology.
it kind of makes sense, especially in
There are
the
actually more than 2 villains, because if you think about it, Paul Giamatti.
yeah,
Paul
Paul
Giamatti.
Giamatti's
is a
in it
villain.
too.
You've got like
I-
a lot of different people. I think that are playing a rat race game.
It worked because, for the most part, the villains were aligned and wanted the same things. It's not the type of movie where you have a lot of villains and they're all doing different things. Like, everyone had the same goal. They were all after the Tear of the Moon.
Something like that.
Is that what it's
Tears
called?
of the Moon.
I
Tears
have
of-
no clue.
Tears of the Moon.
But like
Another MacGuffin.
Yeah,
but I think
MacGuffin. Yeah.
I think the most important piece here is that they were all aligned in their desires, but they were all ready to also be villains to one another. So they were ready to like stop each
Yeah, Tears of
other
the Moon.
in their
Yeah.
in their aims. So
Well, and I think we mentioned this, I don't know, when you stepped away or a little before that, the big twist in the movie being that the Rock's character is actually one of the members
Right.
of the tribe who got cursed. Then it made the fact that there was a secondary villain played by the great Edgar Ramirez in a admittedly fairly thankless role. He doesn't have much to do.
Extremely forgettable. Like,
That works. So you have the human villain who's the more, present and fun villain to watch, and then you have like the supernatural. It almost feels like, in a James Bond movie, like Jesse Plemons is Blofeld and Edgar Ramirez is like Jaws. Right? It's like villain and henchman, because he's the, for all intents and purposes, Edgar Ramirez's character Aguirre, which basically makes this movie a sequel to the Werner Herzog film, is the henchman. He's there to carry out the muscly work for Jesse Plemons. Although I could probably write a 3,000-word essay on how the true villain of this movie, the one really pulling the strings, is the Beast.
I would be
That's a
interested in
thinker.
reading that.
I don't have the time.
I'm sorry, I'm very busy.
Very busy man.
I have to go to Boucher and shop for a while.
Shut the hell up.
No.
I mean, that whole Edgar Ramirez character and that whole storyline is like straight Pirates. Pirates of the Caribbean.
I remember, I think it was the second full trailer they released, and even seeing the look of the characters, I was like, this feels just like
Javier Bardem.
from
Yeah.
some of the
5.
Pirates movies.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people unfortunately confuse Javier Bardem and Edgar Ramirez anyways.
That's actually very true. Because
I mean, the two characters kind of look similar,
but,
so
you know,
I get it.
I
But the
wouldn't
actors
call-
themselves,
go
yeah.
with what works.
Call these characters great, but they worked. And I do think Jesse Plemons is a fucking, I don't know if you curse on here, a fucking delight
Sure.
in this movie.
All I'm saying is that they finally improved and got back to the model that they needed to be on for these movies. The only
Yeah.
movie that actually resonated with me because of the subject material was Tower of Terror until we got to Pirates. Then we got 5 of those freaking swashbuckling adventures. And, you know, I could sit here and complain about the 4th one, but I like them all and I'm happy with them all. But this...
I think Amber was alluding to this earlier. I don't know, I think, as I've been saying, the success of this movie needs to be gauged under the proper context. We are still in a pandemic. I think less people are going to the movies now than even 2 months ago with new fear over the Delta variant.
Mhm.
It did pretty well on Premiere Access. I think this is a movie that's going to play long term. I think it's something people continue to discover and enjoy.
Yeah.
This would be a perfect movie if they were so inclined to launch like a Disney lore or / Disney Park cinematic universe.
Society of Explorers and Adventurers.
Like if you wanted to bring the Tiki Room into this, if you wanted to bring the Society of Explorers and Adventurers,
Tiki Room's a part of that.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanted to bring all that stuff into it, it could be really fun. Because I could definitely see a sequel to this movie where The Rock and Emily Blunt start the society and start going on other adventures that they bring in stuff from other classic Disney attractions.
That's almost precisely what I said when we were in the society meeting at the end, when Jack Whitehall's character is like, nah, we don't want to be a part of your society. And I'm like, they need to bring this in.
The one other thing I wanted to touch on, and obviously you can speak to this with more experience than me for obvious reasons, is movie has a really nice feminist bent to it.
Yeah.
Every time they talked about how a woman was wearing pants, the way that the society treated her, the way that she was a really capable, strong woman who didn't really need help from anyone and kicked her own ass, made her own decisions, fought her way through, and showed those old stodgy men that they can go screw themselves. I was really delighted by it. I know that a movie is doing something right when user reviews on like Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes are people lamenting how it's just another piece of SJW woke propaganda.
Yeah.
If that's the sort of thing you're getting, then I'm like, yeah, well done. Good work, Disney.
I loved it. It's really, really nice. And I mean, I grew up with Disney princesses who had to be saved by somebody for the most part. And, and now I'm finally seeing a doctor in, Dr. Lily Hoffman and, going and basically saving the world. So yeah, it's pretty nice. It's very female positive. She can do literally anything. Oh my God, the yawning. It's so terrible at this point. I'm like, I'm dying. But like she can do anything. She's an inspiration to not only like probably these little kids that might be seeing this, but also me in my 37-year-old glory where, I have all these beautiful, brilliant plans and I don't do any of them because I feel like I can't. And it's a nice patient.
You can.
Thank you.
You're doing a great job, Amber. Give yourself more credit, will you?
Well, that's, that's why I liked Raya a lot too.
Yeah.
Or even, the Frozen movies.
Frozen 2 far outstrips Frozen, the first Frozen.
We absolutely agree on that. We've had many discussions.
Okay. I also worked Frozen Summer Not Fun. I'm sorry, Frozen Summer Fun.
Oh, I went to that.
So
I had one of those VIP passes.
I have PTSD from it. I had a VIP pass. It was called Stand Here at this...
PT Frozen D.
Yeah, that. Stand here at this fountain and get snoped on.
Isn't PT Frozen D that thing where you can't get it up because you live in Antarctica? Never mind. That's a whole other thing. Don't worry.
This is the wrong show for that.
Sorry, I thought this was an unwind. I'm lost.
Save it for the Mets show, will you?
I've lost the plot.
No, but so I can't hear music from the first Frozen movie, like any of the any of.
Well, the songs in the second one are better, anyways. I will fight to the death on that.
Well, but even just.
I think he disagrees with us.
I don't agree with that at all.
Oh, they totally.
Into the Unknown, Show Yourself, and Lost to the Woods are significantly better than any song in the first Frozen.
I I have some videos for you to watch that might actually change your mind.
Howard Ho.
Okay.
And
I didn't like Frozen 2 at all.
Oh,
we
Just
love
wasn't.
I thought it was incredible.
I thought it was an improvement on the first
Me
one.
too. I like it better than the
Hands
first
down.
by far.
But I still have PTSD when I think about Frozen Summer Fun.
I went to that. It was a disaster.
Going from the Dallas BGM at the main entrance
the
to
fact
like
that they've moved that show from like a rinky-dink like makeshift theater into a main theater. I'm like, this is the best y'all can do. Anyways,
You mean the
No, I love
stage in the middle of like the middle
Yeah.
of the park? That's not a rinky dink. Never mind.
Well, speaking of music, I mean, the score in this is like every John Williams score
James
ever.
Newton Howard, right?
yeah.
Oh, so
James
good.
Newton Howard.
I've been
I liked
listening-
it.
I've been listening to it. It's actually really good.
It was really funny because
Um,
we went to go catch our Uber after the movie when we had to walk 15 miles across Disney
And they
Springs.
were blasting the score all throughout Disney
I just
Springs.
walked
Oh
up
my
with my
God.
phone, like Shazamming it. I'm like, can you play for me?
I listen to a lot of film scores. Like it's one of my favorite things to listen to. This one's
Nerd.
yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
We're all nerds here, Amber. I'm
we're-
sorry.
We're,
It's
we're,
just really
we're,
funny to
we're,
do.
we're recording a podcast about Jungle Cruise at 2:38 in the morning. Of course, we're nerds.
Oh, and for the first 40 minutes, we didn't even talk about the jungle. Cruise.
Nope.
Yeah, I think this is a really solid score. It actually has a really nice, hummable
Beautiful.
main theme. Like
Yeah.
I said earlier, I love how they brought in the Metallica. I thought that was such a badass choice that really works. Yeah, he did. It's a really solid score.
It's dope.
And the last thing we can touch on here, this like we said, this movie cost $200 million, and I think that they were hoping to turn this into a franchise, but unfortunately, it did well enough at the box office, considering
It
the
is
Delta variant and everything. But it just
impossible to look at these numbers with any sort of meaning.
Yeah.
yeah.
If we're not seeing Disney Plus numbers, it
Well,
just,
they said it made 30
They said
million
30 million.
on Disney
So
Plus. And the thing is, I feel like were this movie to have opened in a non-COVID timeline, it probably could have opened to 50 or 55 million.
Yeah.
So when you combine the two, it did about that. So I do think we could see a follow-up. I don't know.
I'm hoping they just eat the cost and do it. Come on,
I
Bob
I
Chapek,
don't-
do something right for a change.
I don't know if it's gonna lose. I don't know if it's gonna lose money because I feel like
Yelling at CEOs,
I
it's
don't know.
fine. Well,
It's-
Amber,
it's
you're
hard-
never making it into a Disney park again. It's fine. Bye.
it's hard to determine what kind of value besides monetary that they're getting from this, because I
Well-
don't feel like there's a lot of buzz around the movie either. We'll see what repeat business there is, if any, in the coming weeks, box office wise. But I mean,
I'm hoping there will be some.
But
Black Widow did 60 million on Disney Plus, so for this to do half, I don't think that's a great.
Marvel is
True.
Marvel's
True.
a behemoth. I mean, for them to do
100%.
half
Also,
as a Disney theme park attraction
I don't
movie,
think
that might
it's-
actually be good.
it's any surprise that the movie's already being pirated like crazy. But
Yeah.
now that Disney and other studios have their own dedicated streaming services, it's more complex than just how much money did it make, because they're now considering so many other factors as to what is a success and what brings value to their brand, especially when you have something that is tied into one of their theme parks.
Yep.
It's hard to say, but I think it's too early to call it a failure, and I think to discuss it at all without the very explicit context of we are in a pandemic. The fear is exacerbated again because of the Delta variant and because of well, I'm not going to go political on this, but please get vaccinated. It's unfair to judge it with any sort of normal box office standards.
Yeah, you can't really put the numbers out there. The metrics are just not there. You can't compare them to anything rationally. The only thing you can compare them to is what opened at the exact same time. You can't even compare week to week. Because every week is a different shifting goal.
Yeah.
They literally just keep moving the line, and hopefully soon we will actually be back to a real place of, normalcy.
Right.
But until that's a thing, we're going to have to get used to.
I mean, I don't think we're seeing $1 billion movie for a while.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, right now I think it's F9 in the lead. It's got $650 million, and even that, I mean, The
It's
last
always
one made
just
over $1 billion. So
ziplined for 20 minutes.
Yes.
for real. But I think we would all be down for a Jungle Cruise too. Like, and
Absolutely.
honestly, I think it could be better than this one because now you have the mythology out of the way. You can just have these characters go on adventures and have fun with it. So yeah, I think Jungle Cruise 2, it's a possibility. They definitely
And
they want a franchise out of this thing.
that's what it boils down to. Like, would I like to see these characters on another adventure? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's thank you for that's what I wanted to bring up when I was sort of alluding to it earlier. One of the things I really liked about this movie is it tells a complete story.
Yep.
They don't waste any time setting up potential sequels that we may or may not get. You know, it leaves it open-ended wherein, yeah, these characters could return and go on a new adventure, but if they don't, there's nothing lingering. There wasn't like a new character introduced in the last 5 minutes or a new threat, nothing. It's just beginning, middle, end. Could it continue? Sure. If it doesn't, does it feel like something is missing, or do you sit there wondering what if? Not really.
No, because
Yeah.
you have this one and it's a perfectly fun time. So you
Right.
just put it in the
opposed to
rotation.
So many other blockbuster movies of the last decade that are almost more interested in setting up a franchise than they are in telling their own story.
It feels like they finally made the right choice with these kinds of things. They didn't set up the future movies, even though they dropped enough nuggets for there to be future movies. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I see these, but that's because I know the material. Like, I know
Like-
what I'm looking at, and I'm like,
Like I picture a much worse version of this movie where like they're in the car at the end driving through London and The Rock's like, where are we going? And she's like, we have a meeting with the man named Walt Disney.
Ooh.
Cut to credits.
dun,
And
dun,
you're just
dun.
like, come on, that sort of thing. Like, so
I'm glad they did not do
yeah,
that.
exactly.
I would have
Or
been like, well, he just ruined all that.
I have
Thanks.
to go see a man about some enchanted tiki birds.
Ooh. That's the post-credit scene. Because you always have to have one of those too.
Well, and there
when you set up a
isn't.
And yeah,
franchise.
they didn't-
And there
they
isn't in
didn't
this
do
one,
that.
no.
No. So
But I mean, it's not to say that we're not going to see more. I hope they do more.
I would be enthused if they announced a sequel of something.
Frankly, I'd be very upset if they didn't find a way to parlay into something else because, I mean, the only surviving and relevant attraction movies are the ones from Adventureland right now.
Yeah. Although they are making a new Haunted Mansion and
This is true.
Scarlett Johansson is producing a new Tower of Terror movie, although depending on how her lawsuit with Disney
Yeah,
goes,
I was gonna say that might not
That may
happen.
not work out, but
Well, that was Jungle
I would like
Cruise,
a Tower of
everybody.
Terror movie.
Steve Gutenberg.
Make a movie out of every ride. Like if we're remaking all of the classic animated stuff, you might as well just go all in. Any kind of thing, just make a movie out of
see
it.
a great Space Mountain movie, like a
What
very
would Test Track be?
no, that can't be a movie.
That would be like Ford versus
What's
Ferrari.
his face be in it? Hey guys, welcome to the track.
John Michael Higgins.
Yes.
We're on to something here. We're on to something here.
Oh, that Q video. I miss it so much.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the new Test Track.
Tron-
And if you do, you're wrong.
Tron Track.
Tron Track?
Tron Track. So we're gonna move on to the Pick Perfect Minute. We're coming to the end of the show. 60 seconds. Maxwell, you know the deal with the speed round. You're in the first class league. You got all the speed. This isn't trivia, just straight up movie questions. It's a fun time.
Okay.
2:46 in the morning. We're all winding down here. So boy,
Yeah.
this has been a hell of a show, I'll tell you that. You know what? Let's have Amber go first.
go.
Amber,
Ooh.
are you
Oh.
ready? 60 seconds on the clock.
Sure, let's go.
All right, and the clock starts now. Favorite movie snack?
Popcorn.
Favorite movie drink?
Grape Dasani water.
Oh my God. Star Wars or Marvel?
Marvel.
James Bond or Mission Impossible? Oh wow. Listen.
Mission Impossible. I've never seen a Bond movie.
Yikes. If you could see one movie for the first time again, what would it be?
Kill Bill.
Comedies or dramas?
Comedies.
Scarlett Johansson or Emma Stone?
Emma Stone.
Seat in the front, middle, or back of the theater?
Back.
Dolby or IMAX?
Dolby.
Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler?
Jim Carrey.
Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
Lights on or off when watching movies at home?
Lights off.
Physical media or digital movies?
Physical media.
Do you stay through the credits?
Yes.
3 seconds, DiCaprio or Pitt?
Pitt.
And that's time. Not bad.
Thank you.
I think you have a future in Speed Round.
Thank
Max, you know who to call.
I do.
Amber,
The
how are you?
Ghostbusters.
Are you good with trivia, Amber? Or nah?
I
Not
mean,
really.
okay. I auditioned, so
Oh,
She's good. I think
that's
she's
actually how I got into my co-hosting gig.
there you go. Well, I'll put in a good word for you, even though I don't really know anybody over there.
good. I do.
I do.
Oh no, we lost him.
I'm back. I just hit a
Yay.
button. I hit a button. Boy.
Buttons.
Buttons.
He Chris Clarked it.
Are you a lasagna with legs?
I literally thought like everything was about to die here, and we would done this for nothing.
No,
Imagine,
We're all
StreamYard
good.
saved it. Don't
imagine
worry.
doing this when you're not on screen and you're the producer. I've done it a bajillion times, and they're
Oh
like,
my
"Amber,
God.
what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Maxwell, are you ready for your 60 seconds?
Let's do it. Hands
All
up.
right. Yeah, no cheating. Clock starts now. Favorite streaming service?
HBO Max.
Have you ever shushed someone in the theater?
Many times.
Do you arrive early or late to the previews?
Early.
Movie you've watched the most on cable?
Shawshank Redemption.
Ever snuck into a movie?
Yes.
Ever walked out on a movie?
Yes.
Dine in theaters, yay or nay?
Yay.
Denzel or Sam Jackson?
Denzel.
Matt Damon or Ben Affleck?
These days, Ben Affleck.
Yeah. Scarlett Johansson or Emma Stone?
Emma Stone.
Favorite movie drink?
Coke Zero Cherry Vanilla.
I like that one better. Comedies or dramas?
Dramas.
Dolby or IMAX?
Dolby.
Are you a part of the AMC A list?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah. Batman or Superman?
Batman.
5 seconds. Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
And that's time.
You are my best friend. Yes.
We know this.
Oh, I was literally like, I knew your answers before you would say them.
I knew
and was
your
just like,
answers too.
You
Amber,
knew exactly what I.
Tell me-
Although to be fair, I have kind of gotten on the grape water train. It's pretty good.
It tastes really good.
It does.
You'd be surprised. And there's like, so we both like lost a ton of pounds like over the pandemic. So
That must be nice.
it
was-
was very nice.
What you lost, I gained.
Well, and you can have it.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
Thank you.
We've gained a little bit back because we eat very well sometimes. That's what happens when you go to Disney and eat for like 10 days.
Oh.
It was so good though. There's so many steaks. Like steak. So yeah, it was grape water. It's grape water all the time. Grape or like the lemon water is really tasty. Like all of it is good, but not the sparkling, just the flat water with a flavor.
Out of everything to get out of that Coke Freestyle machine, you choose flavored water.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
When I go to Horror Nights, I also get I get flavored vitamin water.
I like vitamin water.
Vitamin water, I'll accept. Flavored Dasani or whatever the hell, I don't.
Good.
It tastes really good.
It does.
You would be surprised because if you got it in a bottle, it would taste like trash. But you get it in a freestyle machine where they can actually add good syrup.
I've gotten to the point now actually where I went to I didn't realize that at some point during the pandemic. So I was out of A-lists for a week, so I went to a Regal. And Regal
How
also
dare
used
you?
I know, right? Regal also used to have freestyle machines, but I guess at some point in the last year they switched to Pepsi. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting my grape Dasani. I was kind of disappointed. I was looking forward to it.
There's nothing worse than you go to a restaurant or like City Field has this problem too.
I don't mind Diet Pepsi. I actually quite like Diet Pepsi, but generally like Coke Freestyle machine is where it's at.
Dude,
Can't touch any
I-
diet.
We know.
most disappointing thing is when you go to a place and they have Pepsi instead of Coke. I'm like, what are you doing here? What's going on?
I like it sometimes,
I
but it's
mean,
sweeter than Coke. And you're like,
The only good thing is if they have Pepsi, they probably have Mountain Dew, and I do really like
That's a good point.
and usually depending on the distributor, they might have Dr. Pepper.
True.
Because
Mm.
Pepsi tends to be a carry with Dr. Pepper. Although in the South, Dr. Pepper goes with Coke.
Yeah. And in the
Hmm.
freestyle machines, they have Mr. Pibb, which is not Dr. Pepper. He
Who
didn't even
drinks
go,
Mr.
he
Pibb?
didn't even go to medical
It's like-
school.
It's like when you show up somewhere and they're like, here's this Dr. Thunder. And you're like, this isn't Dr. Pepper. Get this out of my face.
Oh my god. Ending on a sour note. I'm just like, ugh,
But
God,
Dr. Pepper's so
Mr.
delicious.
Pibb. Anyway, well, guys, this was a pleasure. We're an hour and a half into this thing.
How long do your shows normally go?
Typically like 60 to 70 minutes.
Okay, so we're not too far off.
It's not that bad. The
How
longest
did the
one,
Adam Collins go? How long did he talk for?
that one was around an hour 5, I want to say.
I can all but guarantee we are definitely far sillier than Adam Collins.
100%.
But
But-
if you get him going, he can.
He
really
can
roll.
He can
Oh, yeah.
pontificate like a motherfucker. Let's
Oh, yeah.
let's not doubt.
For
the
sure.
the amount of shows that we've maybe produced and modded for Video Drew, we also help her too. Yeah. She and Adam Collins now do a deep dive called Why Are We Like This?
There is no surprise as to why Amber is affectionately known as the Schmoho.
I named it myself, but I named PLD that.
PLD is like primary Schmoho, and then right below him is Amber. And I'm not saying you are frequently below PLD.
But I'm better than PLD in many ways because I actually like pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple on pizza is excellent.
PLD was my first interview for the Gold Standard, and I gave him crap because the night before he was on Schmo Me the Money and said that he didn't like pineapple on pizza, and I said, "You are a heathen. Get out of here."
What is pineapple doing on pizza? That's awful.
I love it.
I love it too.
Max, aren't you a New Yorker? What are you doing here? Like, what's going on? Pineapple on pizza.
I'm not gonna blast him out, but he definitely didn't start as a New Yorker.
I did actually.
Did you?
I lived here till I was 4, and then I moved away, and then I moved back.
So that time away must have just.
Listen, the combination of salty and sweet is one of life's great treats.
Yeah,
look,
pineapple.
I'm not putting pineapple on like a great slice of Grimaldi's pizza, okay?
No.
But if I'm getting down on some 2 a.m. I'm stoned Domino's, put that.
All right, well that's different.
On.
Okay.
Domino's, yes, sure.
So my normal pizza order, because I worked at Domino's as a manager a long time ago.
Pepperoni and black olives.
It's thin crust pepperoni black olives. However, if I get regular hand tossed crust, why?
What is with olives on pizza too?
Yeah,
this is
black olives.
I love black
olives
Oh
on pizza is excellent.
Umami.
It's an umami bomb.
It's so good. It gives it perfect
Well,
salt content.
He liked us for about the first hour.
Yeah.
He's gonna have things that he doesn't like. It's fine. He still
The grape water, olives on pizza.
No.
What is going on?
How about Javi Baez though?
Yeah, Javi Baez.
That first home run where he just swagged down the first base line.
I have expected
like,
him. I have expected him to hit that home run and go. Meh.
Yeah. And no hits after that, which is lovely, just like the rest of the lineup.
I'm going to continue my thought, and it's very
Okay, great. I can't wait to hear about what other stuff you put on this pizza.
Already. We're going to do this a lot more. Pepperoni.
We're never going to be invited back.
No, he's going to invite us back all the time. Watch it.
Every week.
Pepperoni, black olives, pineapple, jalapeno.
God.
Yeah, that sounds great to me, actually. I would eat
I
that.
know you would, because I've seen you eat.
Yeah, you have.
I've shared a pizza with you.
Many times.
Listen, this is somebody that like buys $3, $4 DiGiorno from the freezer, from the freezer section. I'm still gonna judge you for the olives and the damn pineapple. That's disgusting.
Since I was, my mom popped me out of the womb, and I was like, black olives, please, on the pizza. And that's how that went.
Interesting first food. Interesting. I mean,
actually, I think my first food was really something akin to Taco Bell or Doritos.
That tracks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that'll bring the end to this show. This was a hell of a time, honestly. Like, it's a combination between the chemistry of you two and doing this at a super late time of the night. We're all kind of punch drunk at this point. Amber flew in. This is just everything just came together perfectly in this episode. And Max, you weren't even supposed to be on the show. So, I mean, it was just like...
I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
The universe just spoke this into existence, this episode into existence.
It is becoming increasingly common that when Amber and I are involved, you get 2 for the price of 1. We are the greatest BOGO in the space.
I love that.
It's the most BOGO in the space. What's going to be real cool is when we roll into Scum and Villainy on the 14th. Holy crap, that's in 10 days.
Can't wait.
It's in 10 days. When we roll in there and they're like, well, there they are. The kids are here. I'm like, I'm gonna wear my Tetris sunglasses and be like, "What up?"
Yo, yo, yo.
Just roll up.
So you guys have the floor. Plug away. As we wrap up
we
here.
basically
'cause-
plugged for the first hour.
Yeah, I
You can
know,
find me
but
you can find her at Takara Kanashi on Twitter, Instagram,
Whoa.
Letterboxd,
Twitch.
Twitch, Stereo.
Stereo.
Hold on.
Stereo's the last. I actually have
yeah,
a note for my
give it. No, I'm gonna do your best. You can find her over on the Let's Get Ready Network. She hosts one FCL show every Tuesday night o'clock after the FCL is live, called The Gold Standard. She's on LGR Reviews, where they do reviews on stuff like Loki. She's also part of the Off the Rails Network, as I talked about at the beginning. We just rebranded, formerly the PJCN. Every Sunday we do a show live called The Unwind, and if you enjoyed what you just saw over the last 90 minutes, you are definitely going to enjoy The Unwind, because it's a lot of this. Plus, you normally get people like PJ Campbell, Sean Sullivan, Dan Nye, and Bacon Gifts. She
you
is
get everything.
a mod over at Video Drew's Network, doing stuff like quizzes, telling Garth to pick that name up.
He loves dropping them.
Loves dropping that names. And you do me.
That's what she said.
Boom.
Anyway,
Got
so
him.
he's Cinemaxwell on Twitter, and he's Cinemaxwell Inc. on Instagram. I don't know what else you're on. Can you just everywhere? He's everywhere.
Everywhere. He's in the
Cinemaxwell
universe.
is only Instagram, so Cinemaxwell is everywhere else. He does basically all the same things that I do.
Off the Rails Network, Video Drew. You catch me competing in the FCL.
Yeah.
Can't confirm or deny if I have a match coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but maybe.
Could be.
Could
Keep
be.
an eye out.
Could be a thing.
This is going to be the longest description of an episode, just with all of the plugs that just went down. My head is spinning. So
I'll
that'll
send you
be
my
fun.
list.
Yes, please. So yeah, I'm just this has just been a fantastic episode, and the most important plug of all, catch us 3 with our new Mets podcast. It's going to happen.
It's such a shame that there's already a podcast called Shay Anything, because that's so perfect.
God,
I'm gonna rack my brain for a movie pun based Mets podcast name, and
Please.
we're legitimately gonna do it.
100%. I am in. You can find me at Bobby is Gross on Twitter, on Instagram, on Letterboxd as well. I love the Letterboxd. I'm addicted to Letterboxd. Please follow me there. At Pick Perfect Cast on Twitter. You're watching this video or you're listening, but available on YouTube, Picture Perfect, everywhere, all the streaming podcast platforms. I tell everyone every week, just subscribe and leave a thumbs up. That doesn't happen. So I'm just going to not tell you that anymore. So it'll just be the opposite effect.
Subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, or I will come to your house with my Louisville Slugger, and make sure you subscribe and share it with your friends.
And if Maxwell goes, so does Amber, because it is a BOGO. So guys, thank you for being on the show, and we will catch you next week on Picture Perfect.